Wind howled, a relentless force that seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. Rain lashed against the lighthouse windows, each drop a tiny hammer pounding away at the glass. Old Tom, the lighthouse keeper, gripped his mug of tea tighter, seeking warmth and comfort in its familiar embrace. He'd seen plenty of storms in his time, but this one was different. It carried a sense of foreboding, a weight that pressed down on his chest. It roared with a fury he hadn't felt in all his years, a primal force that seemed to come from the depths of the ocean itself. He peered out the window, his eyes straining to see through the sheets of rain and darkness. Waves crashed against the rocky shore, their spray reaching up like grasping claws, eager to pull anything into the abyss. Tom turned to the lighthouse lamp, its beam a steady beacon in the night, cutting through the chaos like a knife. It was the only thing standing between safety and disaster for the ships at sea, a lifeline in the tempest. He thought of the small coastal town nestled behind the cliffs, its inhabitants blissfully unaware of the danger lurking just beyond their doorstep. The people there depended on him, relied on the light to guide them home and warn them of danger. Their lives were in his hands. He wouldn't let them down. He couldn't. Not now, not ever. He never had. A sudden crackle from the radio made him jump, pulling him from his thoughts. Static. Then a frantic voice broke through the noise, sending a chill down his spine. "Mayday! Mayday! This is the Seafarer!" The voice was desperate, filled with fear. "We're caught in the storm, taking on water. Our navigation is down. We're heading straight for the rocks. Please help!" Tom's blood ran cold. He knew those rocks. Treacherous, unforgiving teeth waiting to rip apart anything that came too close. He had to act fast. The storm raged on, but Tom's resolve was stronger. He would guide them to safety, no matter the cost. The ship was in grave danger, tossed about by the relentless storm. He could hear the fear and desperation in the captain's voice, a plea for help that echoed through the storm. But if he changed the lighthouse beam to guide them safely, he would leave the town vulnerable to the massive waves crashing ashore. The town could flood, the storm surge sweeping away homes, possessions, and lives in its merciless path. His hand hovered over the controls, his heart pounding against his ribs, each beat a reminder of the gravity of his choice. He was torn. Should he protect the town, as he'd sworn to do all those years ago, fulfilling his duty and honor? Or should he guide the ship, knowing it might mean sacrificing the place he called home, the people he cared about? The storm raged outside, mirroring the tempest in his own soul, a battle between duty and compassion. He paced the small room, the weight of the decision pressing down on him, each step a struggle with his conscience. Time was running out, for the ship, for the town, and for him. Every second counted, every moment a heartbeat closer to disaster. He thought of Mary, the baker, her cheery smile as she handed him a warm loaf each morning. Old man Henry, who sat on the docks every day, mending his nets and sharing stories. Could he bear to see their faces, knowing he hadn't done everything to protect them? But then, the frantic voice on the radio echoed in his ears. He imagined the terrified faces on the ship, families huddled together, praying for a miracle. He saw a young girl, clutching a doll, her eyes wide with fear. He had grandchildren of his own, their laughter echoing in his memory. The storm raged on. Each second seemed to tick by with agonizing slowness. He had to make a choice. Section 4. Light the Way. In the darkest of nights, when the storm raged and the sea roared, the lighthouse stood as a beacon of hope. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his responsibility. The lives of many depended on his actions tonight. He couldn't be everywhere at once, couldn't save everyone. The enormity of the task ahead was overwhelming, but he knew he had to try. But he could do his best, with the time he had. He made his decision, steeling himself for the challenge. His resolve was unshakable. With a swift movement, he adjusted the lighthouse beam, focusing its full intensity on the treacherous rocks. Every second counted. He hoped, prayed, that the captain would see the light in time. That it would serve as a warning, a guide away from the deadly embrace of the reef. The fate of the ship lay in his hands. He couldn't bear the thought of anyone, on land or at sea, facing the storm's wrath unprotected. The storm was relentless, unforgiving. His heart ached with the weight of his choice, but he knew he had to act, to do something, even if it meant risking everything. The lives of those at sea were worth the risk. He had to be their light in the darkness. Section 5. Hope on the Horizon. He grabbed his flare gun. He aimed it out the window, a fiery streak arcing through the sky. Another, and another. He wouldn't give up. He would fight for them all. The storm raged, but Tom felt a sliver of hope pierce through the darkness. He had made his choice, but he wasn't done fighting. He would stay at his post, a beacon in the night until the very last wave subsided. Maybe, just maybe, it would be enough.